Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got a look at the new campaign reward ship for this update cycle. Tier 7 German battleship Odin. Henry Hyde on the screen here. Cunningham, A.L. Nelson for inspirations. Those of you that have been lamenting the fact that you don't have some of these commanders that you see in a lot of my videos, now's the chance. During this update cycle, there's that mission in the Bureau that's got all these crates. I think some of them have the commanders in them. And then I haven't looked at the store yet. I haven't had a chance. But they're either in the store now or will be throughout this update cycle. So you will be able to get all these commanders if they're intriguing for you. Odin, going into this, especially hearing from PC players, a lot of them were saying kind of a Tier 7, at least on our version of the game, Tier 7 Scharnhorst. I think it's a fairly accurate description for me out of like the Gneisenau, the Tirpitz, the Scharnhorst, the ships that have these German battleships that have the torpedoes. I'd say it feels like the Scharnhorst the most, primarily just because of the relatively small caliber of the guns. 305s on this compared to like 380s on the Bismarck and Tirpitz. That's similar to the 283s on Scharnhorst compared to 380s on the Gneisenau. So we get bigger caliber guns than the Scharnhorst, of course. In fact, these are the same calibers you're going to find on the Alaska, those of you pursuing that ship in the Bureau. Or if you've already gotten it, it might be a little familiar. Curiously enough, this actually has a better reload on my build than my Alaska build has with however I got Einstein set up at the moment. So, interesting. I mean, you're getting shots off very quick. 15.8 in this particular build. Range low, a 15.2. I got that on the lowest of all my tier 7s, but it's not really set up for long range sniping by any means. Good turret traverse, looks like probably the best at my tier, tied for the best with the Vanguard. HE damage very low, 3600 per shell hit, 27 fire chance, so those are very poor. They're balanced a little bit just due to how fast you're able to fire the guns, but I would try and get the AP going as much as possible. You'll see the AP in action in this game, and this was actually my first game that I played. Now that I see that Torp launch, it's reminded me of that. I've played, I don't know, 8 to 10 games, we'll say. My normal, this is a early impressions video that I do. Those of you that are new to the channel, whenever we get these premiums as community contributors to test out, I usually play 8 to 10 games. It's kind of my sweet spot. Give you guys some footage to check out and my impressions on how the ship should play. Hopefully that'll let you know if this ship is for you. So anyway, I've been having a lot of success with the AP. Haven't tried the HE a lot. If you're going against an angled Vlad or like an angled John Bart, maybe the HE would be more effective there. But in those situations, I would say you need to find a different target to attack if possible, because these 305s are not going to perform well against heavily armored angled battleships. That's kind of your least priority in terms of target selection. But you can see against this, like a lightly armored battleship like an Ashitaka that's angled but not massively angled, we're getting some decent damage on them there. Torps on this appear to be the exact same as the Tirpitz. I don't think the angles are quite as good. I'd have to refresh my memory with the Tirpitz, but these firing angles on these Torps seem like you got to give a little more broadside, at least firing them from the front. I haven't actually had a full chance to look at how they point out the rear, but it seems like you probably get better firing angles toward the rear of this ship, so keep that in mind potentially. Check it out though. I think it's going to be a folly for some of the newer players that get this ship as a campaign reward, that they're going to be forcing these torps in, and to do that you're going to have to show some broadside, especially in these close quarter brawls, in which case I think you're probably going to get wrecked. This ship, whether you're taking citadels or not, according to the game ribbons, you can still take massive damage when you're flashing your side. So do need to focus on your angling in this one. When you are angled, you're going to have a fair amount of success, but when you start making mistakes with the angling, you will eat a lot of damage. Maneuverability, I got 27 knots for speed, which is kind of middle of the pack for my tier 7s. Not bad. But the maneuverability does shine in the turn radius and the rudder shift. Now I have this set up with damage con, and here's a Belfast, by the way, so we'll see these guns close range against cruiser, lightly armored cruiser at that, and no problem there. Good fuse arming thresholds, I believe, on these, just from how they feel to me so far. Getting back to the mobility though, and my build, if you didn't notice, I got damage con on here. I haven't used that particular mod for probably over a year, but I do want to test it out again. I figured this would be a good ship to test it out. But I still have, second or third best rudder shift on all my builds for Tier 7 battleships, even without that. So normally, most players, myself included, I feel like usually only consider prop mod or steering gears mod on that slot 2 for battleships. But I think the damage con, especially if you're having trouble with HE spammers, might be, or getting torped a lot and flooding, that might be an option that you should be considering. So, keep that one in mind. But the maneuverability overall, again, not a speed demon, but fairly maneuverable in terms of turning. So that's a very attractive aspect. Detection, concealment, not bad, 14.7. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but I guess compared to the Monarch is 14.5 in my builds. Currently best at my Tier 7s. I haven't really spec'd out any of my battleships for a concealment build yet. It will be an option going forward in the future. Just haven't gotten around to it yet, but concealment, if it's a consideration for you, pretty good on this ship. The Sonar is the other thing I should point out. Slightly better than the Bismarck, like a 4.4 surface detection on that compared to a 5 on this one, and the duration, you get about 4 more seconds of active duration. So that's kind of a rundown on the stats. I think it's pretty decent ship. 65,000 HP. That's with my hide, level 14. Hide's increasing my ship's HP. If you want to compare it to the Tirpitz running the same commander build, that's 72,630 max HP on that one. So significantly more HP on the Tirpitz. Likely the same on the Bismarck. I just don't have hide on there for an easy comparison. But I think compared to the PC, a lot of people, early reports from the PC were saying very, very low health. That doesn't appear to be the same on our version. And if you haven't got the memo yet, early on in this game's history, the ships very closely matched the PC versions. We're getting more and more divergence, especially when it comes to premiums, when they introduce them to this game. So you can look at the PC for clues as to how a ship will play, but just because it's a certain way on the PC is no longer a valid reason to assume that's how it's going to be on this. Anyway, we've kind of captured A's, which we spawned on. Now I do want to pressure B. Looks like my team is pressuring B here, but I want to defend it. Initially, I was looking at the map layout. Our team was kind of overloading them on A. We had a ship advantage, and they're doing a good job over there. So there's little incentive for me to stay with that pack. There's incentive for me to move over here. Number one, potentially I can get crossfire into this Colorado, which is what we're trying to do right now. But number two, we can support this other flank. For some reason, the guys on C all ran out of there, and they're moving over here. Maybe they were getting their butts kicked or whatever. And that, you don't always have to die on the flank you spawn on. So maybe leaving was the correct play. I'm not criticizing them for that. But whatever caused them to leave that flank, they left. And that's going to give us a 2-to-1 cap advantage. They got C, but I do want to help pressure this group in C if they push forward into our spawn side, or if not, if they recede back into their spawn side, which is usually what you want to do. Then we can help defend B. So there was no reason to continue to pursue southward on the A spawn, because we'd just be firing from the same angle as every other ship on our team over there, and they'd be able to angle against all of us. So that's why we moved over here. We're keeping an eye on these torp indicators, as we mentioned, and we're seeing at least the Iowa's coming over here. We don't know where the other one is. You'll note I don't have the spotter plane consumable on this. Like I mentioned, this ended up being my first game that we played in this. I picked this footage because it has a little bit of everything, and it's one of the, I think it's either the highest or second highest damage that I've squeezed out of this so far. So I think it did a pretty good job highlighting what this thing can do. We don't have the spotter plane yet, though, which of course increases your precision. That's like putting 2 Andrew Cunninghams in there, basically. Enhances it by 10%. Cunningham, I don't know, max is probably about 5 or 6%. So roughly double his. It's a little bit different than dispersion. Usually buffing the dispersion is better than the precision. Precision groups those shells tighter. So if you aim them properly and you get lucky on the dispersion in terms of the roll, then you're going to clobber them with a lot of shells landing very close to each other. And here's broadside Iowa. You can see decent damage, not catastrophic. Can we punch through the citadel or not? We'll we'll see as this exchange goes on. We got a couple overpens, a couple of standard pens there. A very quick reload. I mean, this ship is a lot of fun to brawl in. It's the quickest reloading on my builds, you know, my tier 7 battleships. It's up there with a lot of the cruisers, so the damage output really nice in terms of the guns. Here we had the torps lined up. Unfortunately, we run out of steam just at the last second, but that's all right. We're getting the high caliber, we're getting the Confederate, and then we're going to pop the plane here once we're trying to identify where the Tirpitz is. Want to remain angled to them. We're also kind of angled to the Colorado, just in case he decides to get involved with this fight. You can assume when you're in these brawls that the enemy's on their radio pinging you, saying, I need help with this guy. And once in a while, that will cause them to look up from what they're doing and put crossfire shots into you. So even though they're downrange, that Colorado in this case, doesn't mean you necessarily want to give up on your angling on them. But these ships that are close to you, of course, are the bigger threat. And you can see there that salvo when we were steeply angled against the Iowa, minimal damage. Whereas when we were more fully, you know, angled but still broadside, when we were getting those full salvos in, we were taking a lot more damage. So this ship, it appears to me, in my early testing, if you angle it well, it's quite hardy. But if you're forcing that full salvo in, you can take some of the damage. Again, who knows if it's Citadel or not. It's a lot easier for me to tell how the armor schemes are on these ships when I begin to play against them. But when I'm doing these early impressions videos, of course I'm just playing game after game in that ship to get a feel for it. Harder for me, I can see, yeah, we took a big shot there, but was it a Citadel? What kind of a shot was it? Beyond looking at my own angling, it's hard to tell exactly what the result was. Anyways, Odin seems to be quite strong. I think people that like the Tirpitz or the German battleships, Scharnhorst for sure, you're absolutely going to love this ship. Those of you that follow my channel a lot know I don't love the German battleships, but I think a lot of them are fun to play, this one included. I don't love them because of the unreliable nature, especially their guns. But this one, the guns seem more reliable than if you compare them to the Scharnhorst, Tirpitz, Bismarck. You know, I've been having some fair amount of success with them. So, you know, part of that could be the spotter plane. This is the first time we've ever used the spotter plane today. And even though we didn't see it in this particular footage, you know, it's partially influencing my thoughts. But anyway, that's a look at the Odin, guys. If you're up in the air on it, I would recommend pursuing this like I normally do with all campaign ships. They're a great value. Even if you don't like the ship, all the other rewards are good. But that's going to do it for that one, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and we'll see you all later. All right, peace.